So should we just start it off like without a proper intro or something? Like just me talking right now? Should this start off the podcast?
I reckon it should be at the beginning.
It'll be really awkward for people going into it. So should we do some of those like random kind of shuffling of papers, getting ourselves organised like we're preparing for something big? Wait,
urination check?
I will just put my phone on silent. Oh, you sent me a photo apparently.
Yes, I just did.
What did you send me a photo of? Ah, yes, my co-worker.
What you're missing out on.
Yeah. Oh, so annoyed that I'm missing out on that. He said in a podcast that's going up on the internet.
They know by now.
So, for anyone who's listening right now, my name is Ben Rogers, this guy's name is Reid, and this is not a normal episode of Weird News Weekly because we're basically saying goodbye to that format of the show. How do you feel about that, Reid?
I feel like we've just had enough of formats. We tried a radio show format, we've tried a weekly podcast format. We're out of format ideas. We just want to try something completely different, something new. I'm ready for it.
That's the whole thing, really, because when you look at what we've been doing since, 2015 that we started doing the actual radio show? Or was it 2014? It was the end of 2014,
I think it was 2014, long ago.
So we started the official radio show / podcast at the start of 2015. So we've been going for a full 2 solid years with very little, break time in between episodes and stuff. Like we've had a couple of 2 weeks off or 1 week off or whatever here and there, but we've been going pretty strong with regular uploads of what was Wednesday Drive on the Pulse radio station that turned into Weird News Weekly, the podcast that you guys have been listening to if you're subscribed to this podcast. So now we're just kind of we don't really want to be doing that strict format of we talk about weird news and we find stories every week to talk about and we stick to that without wavering at all because we do waver every single week, Reid.
Yeah. We go off on tangents. We have side notes on everything we talk about.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
So I think the direction that we go in from now is that we're just going to hit the record button and just start talking. Sure, we might talk about some weird news stories every now and then because there might be some topical things that come up and we're just like, hey, we really want to talk about that. Or we could just, press record and start crapping on about the basketball team that we follow.
Oh, let's not go there.
Speaking of which, did you hear today's news?
Ooh, let's hear today's news.
Dean Demopoulos, officially no longer the Melbourne United coach.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a massive shock.
So, for those of you who aren't quite following the storyline here, our basketball team that we follow in the National Basketball League here in Australia, Melbourne United, Dean Demopoulos has been coaching them for the past 2 seasons and they've decided as of today not to renew his contract. So now we are on the hunt for a new coach and there's already a bajillion names flying around. The rumour mill is going crazy already and it's it's only been, 6 hours since they've sacked the guy and already it's just Brian Gorgin's coming back, Andrew Gaze is going to come down from Sydney, Dean Vickerman's going to come down from Sydney. What's going to happen?
They move so quick, it's hard to keep up. I mean, we've only been out of the finals. We didn't even make the finals, and already Chris Golding, our star player, is interviewing players on the opposite teams for Fox Sports, and he's interviewing all the players in a suit. Dude, it doesn't look right. You're a basketball player in a suit. Not on.
It looks so weird seeing a guy with 5 o'clock shadow, ponytail hair, in a suit, interviewing people on TV, instead of, being the kind of rock star kind of looking guy who's playing the game itself.
Oh, yeah. I mean, seriously, the guy needs to just focus on basketball and not worry about a post-media life after basketball. Just worry about your basketball look. You're doing that pretty well. So it just didn't look right. That's all I'm saying. All right.
So should we wrap up some loose ends as far as stories are concerned? Some stuff that we might have covered, throughout our time doing this show. Is there anything you kind of want to touch on? I guess the obvious one, probably the one that we talked about in the most recent episode, was the whole hashtag He Will Not Divide Us thing that was going on with that live stream from Shia LaBeouf. It was shut down by the museum that they were doing it at in New York, and now it's opened up again. It's found a new location.
Oh, I didn't know that. We've got a brand new location for it.
Yeah, they've got a brand new location. The live stream is back up once again. So if I go to the website here, he will not divide.us, because I can't remember the exact location off the top of my head, but they have definitely relocated. It is now relocated to El Rey Theatre in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
Yeah.
What a great name.
And there is like a street sweeper just sitting in front of the camera at the moment. And it's really loud. So, it says here that February 10, 2017, the Museum of the Moving Image abandoned the project. On February 18, 2017, the project relocated to a wall outside the El Rey Theatre in Albuquerque.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it barely lasted 2 weeks before they had to shut it down.
Yeah.
And they've managed to get it off somewhere. So they've initially said they want to have it for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Do we really think it's going to last that long? Because, I mean, that's a long time.
I've got a funny feeling it's just going to end up being a travelling art project / protest, and it's just going to keep getting shut down, and they'll just keep moving it to new places. So I'd be interested to see if, even just after a year, going back to the website and seeing like all the listings of such and such abandoned the project and we moved it to here. They abandoned the project, so we moved it to here. And it'll just be traveling like right around the country.
There seems to be a Trump protest in every city every weekend, so I reckon this has got legs, this whole idea. So don't think we're seeing the end of this one yet. I reckon this will be around for a long time.
No, and it's really weird watching this one, though, because in comparison to the previous space that they had, it was kind of like off the street a little bit, and there was like a bit of an open area where a lot of people could stand. This one basically looks like it's right dead on the sidewalk. And so you've got maybe 2.5, 3 meters width of sidewalk that people are standing on, all hunched around this camera, and then there's just traffic moving along behind them, and all these people are slowing down, causing traffic chaos because they're just like, I'm in the background.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, this sort of reminds me of a little story we did a few months ago that has people waving at the camera. And do you remember the story we did about that famous little town in America? I really forget where it is from.
Jackson Hole.
Funny name, Jackson Hole. I don't know where Jackson Hole was. It was in the mountains area somewhere. I actually went on YouTube today. I thought, surely this is still not going. It's still up there. Mm-hmm. You can still go up there. I wanted to see when we first spoke about this, went through some of our old videos. September. It's now February and they're still going.
Yep.
So they're going strong.
Funny thing, actually, because I thought going into, talking about that story, I'd never actually heard of Jackson Hole before. But it turns out I had heard of Jackson Hole before, but I just wasn't paying attention to the fact that I had heard about Jackson Hole. Because in the movie I Love You Man, with Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother and Paul Rudd, what's the big buff dude's name that plays Hulk, the Incredible Hulk? Lou Ferrigno, that's the one.
Yes, dude.
He's in the movie and he's trying to sell his house, his big massive mansion in the Hollywood Hills, and his realtor, who is Paul Rudd, gets asked why is he wanting to sell his house, and he's like, he's just sick of the Hollywood scene. He wants to move somewhere like Jackson Hole. And I was like, what? I watched the movie again a couple of weeks ago and they said Jackson Hole and I was like, oh my God. What the heck?
It out. Oh, man. So it's still going to this day. So I don't know how many people, I had a look today, right? 250 people are watching. Yeah. When you and I were watching, thousands were watching. So the amount of people watching it has massively decreased, but there's still a stack of people just wasting their time looking at people go about their life in Jackson Hole.
Checking it out right now, there is currently 118 people watching it. It is dead of night and there's snow all over the road. It looks like they've had a recent snowstorm going through there. This is actually the snowiest that I've seen it. And I've watched it recently where there was like, snow in the park and all that kind of stuff in the background, but it wasn't like this snowy all over the roads or anything like that. So I'm expecting to watch this live stream and just see a car skidding through the intersection uncontrollably or something like that.
Well, I was looking at it today, and someone has uploaded some other Jackson Hole videos, and there was this couple who, I don't know what the whole context was, but I think because they saw the camera there, they thought, let's have some fun with this. They started getting into a fight. It looked like this guy and a woman. I think it's like guy in red sees woman in orange, and they just fight on. It's like, what? I think it's just because they saw the camera there. I thought, let's get into a bit of a biff.
One of the other stories that we'd covered recently that I kind of wanted to touch on as well was the Monopoly story where they were changing, they were bringing in new pieces. There was a big voting system for what pieces they wanted to bring into the whole thing. It is, I think, 100% confirmed now that they are going to retire the thimble completely.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be...
I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's just going to be gone. Like, because there was, situations before where there's been a playing piece that's been retired and a lot of people were outraged over it, and now they're going to retire another one in the thimble and go for something completely new going forward.
Now, you know your board games better than I do, but this is a pretty iconic part of the whole Monopoly board game is the thimble. Yeah. I mean, I've always associated the thimble with Monopoly, so it just makes sense that they would retire the iconic game piece being the thimble.
Mm-hmm. But then I guess, moving forward, if you want your game to appeal to a modern generation, you wouldn't necessarily want something like a thimble going to be... Because a lot of people would grab the thimble piece and just go, what the heck's a thimble? Like, what would you ever use this for, kind of thing. But if you've got something in there that's like a smiley face emoji or something like that, then they're just like, hey, smiley face emoji, cool.
Do we reckon little Johnny was playing with the thimble and Mummy didn't like it and he swallowed it, taken him to the ER, and said, right, we've got to get this thimble out, got a petition going, and they've somehow managed to convince Monopoly to get rid of it. So I reckon that's a possibility.
Maybe it's one of those things where they need to make like the Monopoly pieces almost like a Lego Man head where it's got a hole in it on purpose, so if you do swallow it, you can still breathe.
Make it the opposite of fun size. I love everything big. Make it massive.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole thing. Like, you look at a Monopoly board. A Monopoly board is quite a big, board game board. And then you're given these tiny little playing pieces that are just so, like, they're probably like the size of your fingernail, like your thumbnail at the most. And it's just like, I've got a little, Buddha statue thing here. That would be the kind of size of Monopoly playing piece that I would consider playing with. Whereas, like, something like they're giving you, just that tiny little plastic or little metal, depending on what set you actually get, that tiny little piece is just like, a choking hazard immediately.
I think there's movies and even TV shows which have comically large pieces of board games and games alike. I think Billy Madison was a film and they had a board game or something like that, and it was massive in size. I thought, they've got it right. They know how to do it. I like their style.
So I guess, like, looking back on episodes that we've done here, I'm just trying to load up our SoundCloud in the background. We have done all up 77 episodes of both Wednesday Drive and Weird News Weekly to make up basically what our show has been over the years now. And I guess in that time, when you look at it, and I don't want to sound like, negative towards what we've done, but it really hasn't done all that well with the stuff that we've been doing. We had a couple of high moments there where it was like, we were getting like 300 listens and something per episode. But usually the longer you go into a podcast, the more of an audience you start to attract. And I'm sorry, but that's not happening for us at all.
And, we tried our best. We plugged it on social media every week.
Yeah.
We tried to, do all the right show stories. But for whatever reason, we just didn't get that many people to listen or take the time to listen on the train trip to work or stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know what we put it down to.
And I think almost part of that is because it did sound a little bit. We were trying to be a little bit too professional with the whole thing, and almost make it like a radio show that wasn't on the radio. And even though we kind of brought it back a couple of steps, taking all the effects and stuff out of it, and the transitions between our stories and everything like that, it still kind of had that air of, these guys have done radio before, kind of thing.
Yeah. They're onto us, damn it.
Yeah, it's like, they're trying to be too professional and make it all fantastic and like the best sounding possible podcast ever. And it's just like, well, no, that's not what the podcasting world is. It's all raw. It's dingy. It's dirty. It's like, radio that's not supposed to be radio. So,
absolutely.
But kind of the direction that we want to go in, obviously now, as far as naming for the show, of course, is we're not necessarily going to have like a theme for the show as far as like we're talking about weird news or we're talking about sport or anything like that. We're just going to be talking about stuff. Hence why the show from this point forward is basically just going to be called Things, Stuff and Words.
Because we're not pigeonholing ourselves by one topic. That literally can mean we can do absolutely anything in the world about things.
Exactly.
Well,
if you remember back to our Wednesday Drive days, the intro to our show actually said entertainment, weird news, things, stuff, and words.
Yep.
So now it's basically just stripping those two things off the start. We're not pigeonholing ourselves with those two things. We're just going with the things, stuff, and words. Because we can talk about anything in that whole area.
We can talk about absolutely anything boring or absolutely anything entertaining. It's limitless.
So as far as branding is concerned, I might even do this now in like real time whilst we're, sitting here doing this. We are going to be changing our Twitter to just Ben and Reid, because that's who we are.
Now, I don't reckon there'll be any other Ben and Reid combos going around social media,
I think I have actually already checked this, so we'll just double check that we can actually... Let's see, settings and privacy, here we go.
It's not like it's a John and Tim or anything, is it? It's Ben and Reid, very, independent kind of name. Brilliant.
And I almost spelled your name wrong. Ben and Reid.
Not the first one.
Ben and Reid available. BENANDRREID.
There we go.
So we're good to go. So our Twitter is now Ben and Reid. So that's where you'll find us. Re-enter your Twitter password to save changes to your account. So, Reid, I'll beep this bit out because obviously people don't need to know our password. But you're the guy who handles most of the Twitter stuff. So what's our password?
Our password is... I might even change the password at a later date because I don't want it to be anymore.
Yeah, true. I'll probably put like a little thing over the top of our mouths even because, keen lip readers out there who are watching the video stream of this,
How dare they?
Might try and do some dodgy stuff on us. No, I don't want to save the password. So, if I go back to our profile, we are officially changed. Weird News Weekly at Ben and Reid, even though it'll just become Ben and Reid as well instead of Weird News Weekly. Should I change that now as well?
We're going to have to make all these changes. Let's do it live. Let's all do it.
Let's change that now too. It is Ben ampersand Reid.
Ben's going to do it and I'm going to watch him do it live.
Yeah. A weekly podcast. It's not a weird news podcast anymore, so we can take that ish out of there.
It's a podcast.
And it's not even a weekly podcast now. It's a...
So whenever we feel like it, podcast.
We'll call it a monthly or more podcast.
I like it.
That's good, because if we want to do more than one a month, we can, still go in there and just go, hey guys, surprise episode.
Surprise!
And now I guess we have to change it to formerly Wednesday Drive and Weird News Weekly.
What will our Wednesday Drive listeners know? They won't know where to find us now. They'll be like, formerly Wednesday Drive? We found it there. Goodbye, people. Time to move on.
And so I guess we can also change the SoundCloud over, and then I can change the link on the Twitter as well to, reflect that change. So if I go to our, where are we here? Profile and settings. Let's see here. Content, connections.
I feel like we're getting very nerdy in terms of the stuff we're talking about right now, because for those, if we're still recording, this is very time consuming, all the social media stuff, and you've got to put all the sort of right. It's all about the right passwords, because I've got different passwords to different social media networks, and that's very confusing in itself. And that's just my personal ones. Now I've got to check. It's a lot of pressure. It's also like trying to remember passwords.
I've got to remember how to actually do this on SoundCloud now. I feel like I'm, out of the loop here.
2 hours later.
So as far as going forward is concerned, Reid, is there anything that you kind of want to touch base on as far as our direction is concerned? Because I guess we should also talk about the rollout of the show as far as what platforms we're going to be on as well. But I'll get into that soon. Is there anything that you want to cover at all?
No, I think we're just going to take it as it comes. I mean, this is a whole new chapter, and I think we'll see how it goes. But I think for us it'll be very vital that we remain on Twitter, because that's the future of social media for a lot of people. Facebook seems to be a platform where a lot of people don't even bother anymore.
Yeah. So man, as far as social media is concerned, we are still 100% on Twitter, and that's the only place that we're going to be, because we don't really feel the need to do heaps of social media stuff for, the whole situation. But as far as... Sorry, excuse me, I only ate dinner before I started recording this, so it's kind of starting to work its way back into me now.
That's what she said.
So it's as far as the audio side of the podcast is concerned, it'll still be on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Those are the audio areas that the podcast will be going out to. But we're not actually going to be on YouTube anymore. We're getting rid of the whole YouTube side of things, and we're actually going to a different video sharing platform, and that is VidMe.
Now, a little heads up about VidMe. I'm not sure if you want to talk about this publicly or not, but you've actually got an account, don't you? Where you've had some videos.
I do have a VidMe account already myself. It is just vidme.com it's vid.me/Ben Rogers, Rogers. And it's just videos that I'm posting at random. There is no necessarily, there's no schedule that I'm, going with necessarily. It's just kind of when I've got time and when I've got an idea to talk about something and post a video. But the platform itself, the community there is fantastic. And I feel like the reach would be a lot better on that platform, as well as as far as the video side of a podcast is concerned. So I think it's a good idea to change it up from YouTube, which is kind of getting tired and just oversaturated now, and then changing it up and going somewhere new and seeing what happens. It could be the best thing that we've ever done. So we'll see how it all works out. And I'm going to get that VidMe channel started up this weekend. So that will also be vid.me/Ben and Reid. Everything's just going to be Ben and Reid now. So that's simple as.
It's all about Ben and Reid now. Move on, people. Ben and Reid everywhere.
I guess people just need to 100% know how to spell your name. It's Reid.
Story of my life.
Because so many people get it wrong.
Oh, yeah. I swear, I get everything but my actual spelling of my name. And to make matters worse, my surname gets mispronounced all the time. Because there was a film back in the 80s. It was a police film, Police Academy. You may remember it. And there was a character in that film. And he was a detective or sergeant or whatever, Mahoney.
Yep.
And that is not how you pronounce my surname.
No.
So I've got a first name that people can't spell. I've got a surname that people can't pronounce. It's fun being me.
Well, then again, you've got also a wrestler who also had the second name Mahoney as well, and it was spelt the same name as it was spelt the same way as your last name. So there you go. But his first name, for some reason, was Balls.
I could have done without that.
He wrestled for He wrestled for ECW, and then he went on to WWE, and his name was Balls Mahoney. And he had this thing where he would like line guys up for a couple of punches in a row, and as he'd hit the punches, the crowd would chant, "Balls! Balls! Balls!" and then he kind of do the big wind-up punch, and everyone would be like, "Hey, balls!"
And then someone just walks in and says, "Seriously? Are you people not getting what he's saying? It's saying balls. I mean, you know, are you seriously not getting it?" Wrestling. Oh, how funny. Thanks for that.
So, I guess the main message that we are getting onto here is that the Weird News Weekly podcast is coming to an end. We are moving to a monthly or more format. So from this podcast to the next podcast, you'll probably hear from us in like, I don't know, a month's time or something like that, or maybe even sooner, because we might start the progression of that monthly podcast a little bit earlier, so we're not, having too much of a break in between us saying goodbye to this one and starting the new generation of things. So yeah, everything's Ben and Reid now. If you want to follow us on all the areas that we're usually at, just search Ben and Reid. Simple.
Just don't search for Reid and Ben because you'll get nowhere.
No. You'll get some guys from like way out backdoor Canada or something like that. We're going to talk about snowplows, eh?
Oh my goodness.
I feel like if we keep going now, we're just going to lose it even more and more. So,
totally.
Is that a good place to cut things off as far as an explanation is concerned? And
I think that's enough.
I reckon.
I think we'll get it.
We'll sign off now. I'll edit out the parts of this that don't need to be there, because there was a lot of nonsense of me changing URLs and stuff like that we just recorded for some reason. But
because we could.
Yeah, exactly. But we will be back in a couple of weeks with a bit of a rebrand, a bit of a new thing going on where we have the freedom to talk about anything we like. And yeah, I've been Ben Rogers. You've been Reid Marnie. I'll let you say your own name and goodbye now if you like.
Yep. I like when you say it, but I'll say it anyway. I'm Reid Marnie, and that's Ben Rogers. Wow, that really feels weird to say. We'll see you whenever. Bye-bye.
Yeah. See you, bye.